Welcome everyone. No one is interested in my session. I just did a quick poll survey right now. Everyone's here for the tax sessions, but I'll still make you sit through this session. It's for my political ambitions that I have to give this, and this is being recorded. But I'll try and make this interesting for you, because as business community people, you all do need to know what's going to be happening with our economy in the near future. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is initially I'm going to give you the latest statistics on the provincial economy in different areas, and then I'll give a conclusion as to what I feel the direction of the economy is and what it should be. The first three slides relates to the energy sector, which is the backbone of the provincial economy. And a lot of what's going to happen to our province's economy will be a result of what the oil prices are going to be. But that's not going to be all. There are other factors which you must consider. So as you can see from this, the oil prices, what I've done is, generally Alberta oil is this one, Western Canada Select. But the reference the world uses for comparing oil prices is the WTI. As of September, average, January to September, the oil prices from 15 are down by 26%. You may be looking, the price that you hear on the radio and stuff is this one, right? And this is the average price. The forecast for WCS for 2017 is 30. Remember, our average is 27.65. So we are looking at a 10% forecasted increase in the average price of oil. The Alberta government budget document assumes an average, because the budget document is our fiscal year. These are calendar year averages I'm getting. It's a fiscal year. So the fiscal year averages, if you take both years, is 29.8. And the forecast is 30.8. So it doesn't look too bad. Forget the real actual, what the price is going to be. I don't know, you don't know. But what the government has budgeted and what is expected, it seems to be that we may have a price higher than budgeted, which means my prediction, although I'll come at the end, our deficit may be slightly lower than predicted, which is good for us. The next slide gives more details of the actual activity. I won't go over this, but we don't see the pickup yet. This data is a bit old. It's August, but that's what's released up till now. It's been a bad year because the average wells drill has gone down 41.5% in 2016. I don't foresee a big jump in this. The benefit our economy is going to get is from the price increase, not the drilling activity, which means a bad sign for employment. And I'll come to employment at the end, where I foresee the real economic problem. We then come to natural gas prices, because that's also an important component. And the natural gas price is also down 35%. Natural gas production is up a little bit, but it is not sufficiently up to counter the decrease in the gas price. Of course, here there will be a lot of issues regarding the pipeline issues that all of Canada is now debating, and I'll come to that later. But the energy sector has some hope, and the hope is that our budgets is made up based on $29.50 for the WCS, the Canadian oil, and I foresee, and the markets are now foreseeing a price higher than that. So there is hope. It doesn't look that bad. Let's come to, up till now, what the business activities have looked like. The stats for business activities is generally classified under 3 heads: business incorporations, exports, and bankruptcies. Incorporations has gone down 4%, so implies, of course, the business activity is going down. Exports has gone down 22%, but that is alarming. The first reaction is, oh, because oil exports have gone down. So what I did is I gave you a subsector breakdown of where the exports went down, and you will see every major category it's gone down except for consumer goods, which is nil, which is slightly positive, 0.1%. Everything's gone down. Now, why is that important? Because we keep on crying that Alberta's economy is not diversified enough. And it isn't. This is showing that the Alberta's economy is not diversified enough, that even if energy exports went down, why is everything else going down when the dollar is depreciating? Okay, remember, when your currency depreciates, theoretically, your exports go up because it becomes cheaper, your product. In spite of the depreciation, besides energy, everything's gone down. It means that, in my opinion, that our economy has no diversification presently, and the government keeps on talking about we'll save the economy by diversification. It's going to take 5 to 10 years to diversify this economy. It won't be saved by diversification. And the reason I'm making you remember this is in my conclusions, I'm going to propose certain measures to the government. This is seminar is my testing ground. Actually, I'll be sending it to the provincial government, the measures, to help us get the economy back on track. Diversification is good, but it's a very, very long-term plan. Consumer activity. Consumer activity is one of the major components of what is called the GDP of the country or the economy. Consumer activity has gone down. Retail trade is the first sign. Till the September figures, it's gone down 2.1%, which to me is not that bad. If I was predicting this 6 months ago, 9 months ago, I would have predicted a greater fall. But it appears to be not too bad. But then again, except for food and beverage, out of the 4 largest sectors, everything's fallen in the retail trade except food and beverage. Vehicle sales is another separate category of gauging consumer activity, and that has gone down 9.1%, which is expected. And the vehicle sales is the total sales of trucks, SUVs, everything. Okay. Now let's come to industrial activity, the other second major category of GDP. The industrial activity has fallen more than the consumer activity, as you can see. Before I go further, the question should be, why has consumer activity only gone down 2% and the wholesale trade has gone down 8%? Because what happens with consumers, and which is, I fear, I don't have the exact data on that, but reports are there, that you and I individually may not cut down our spending by taking on more debt. So credit cards or line of credits. We start using that more, and once we start using that more, we find the effects of that come in future years when you have to repay that debt. So consumer figures that I showed was only 2% fall, but that's kind of misleading. Economy is much worse than that. 8% fall in the wholesale trade. Manufacturing sales, 11%. Okay? So the 2% doesn't fit into all this that I have said. And here this gives you the details of the subsectors. Now, one of the third largest or most important indicators in any economy is the housing, because that is that creates a lot to adds significantly to your GDP and also employment. Construction industry employs a lot. Look at the figures here. And I know we have some real estate agents in this seminar. The MLS sales value from January to October has gone down 8.2%. The value peaked okay, this is seasonal, but the reason I'm pointing this out to you, the value peaked in June, but generally in summer it does. But look at the peak. The peak was 10.5% lower than last year's peak. Okay? So June is not the important thing because it does peak in summer. And it bottomed in January, which it generally does. It's the worst period for the sales. But the bottom was 16.1% more down. So the peaks are much less and the bottoms are much higher. So anything what other real estate boards may be predicting, based on this, and the housing starts is down 36. My prediction for you for 2017 is housing is going to be bad. It's good for people who are going to be buyers because I certainly am predicting a fall in prices of houses. You will see in the next, already, this is agriculture. I have some latest data which was released for November by, most of this data is coming from which the government also uses is CREA, Canadian Real Estate Association. But there's a data from CREB for Calgary, and it said that the first time in 5 years, the average price of a house in Calgary has gone below 500,000. It's 498. So prices are now, this was being predicted by the analysts 6 months ago, but it's now hitting. Okay, so this is another indicator of the housing price, the future of the housing industry, and that's the building permits that's issued, and that's down 22%. Absolutely, in all categories. The categories they use is residential, institutional, industrial, and commercial. All have shown decline. Agriculture. This is the only silver lining, actually, because many analysts, economists, are predicting that some of this province's recovery is going to be fueled by the agricultural sector next year. Let's look at it. So if you look at grain deliveries, which is one of the most important products we have, agricultural, it is down 5.8%. But that's not too bad when you look at what I showed you for the wholesale trade, 11%, and the retail trade and the consumer side. Lumber production is up 2.4%. Cattle prices, although are down, and I don't have a figure here, which I should have, but I forgot, but actually the sales volume has gone up, which not totally, but more than covering the cattle price drop. Wheat price has gone up 5.1%. So overall, the predictions for the agricultural sector is that grain and wheat are going to, well, lumber also, but lumber is a smaller percentage of the agricultural sector, is going to lead the recovery in 2017 for the agricultural sector. Now we come to heavy duty data. All the data I presented to you up till now was statistics to build up my conclusion. Employment. Look at the trend. This is a disaster, and my proposals to the government is going to lead around employment. Because you may do anything you want, you may say anything you want. If you and I are unemployed, we cry the most, and we are affected the most. Eventually, how long can you keep on using your credit card in line of that? And that will affect the GDP of this province the most eventually. Look at the employment. I want to go over this a bit more detail. The unemployment data average was 5.8%, the 10-month average last year. This year, the 10-month average is 7.9%. But I have a news flash, which was just released. The newest November data was released 3 days ago, that Alberta's unemployment rate, which for October it was 8.5, it's still gone up, and it's gone up to 9% in November. This was just released 3 days ago. So the unemployment rate is continuously, without break, without anything, rising. This is politically bad and economically bad. You will see Calgary is the worst hit. Edmonton, our capital city, there's amazingly a huge difference between Edmonton and Calgary, which makes me think, is the government all, I'm just thinking, I'm not accusing, is the government all concentrating jobs in the capital where the legislature is? Because Calgary is in disaster form. Calgary unemployment rate was 10.2 in October, which corresponds to this, 8.5. The data for Calgary specifically for November hasn't been released, but if this has gone up from 8.5 to 9, I expect this is now closer to 11%. The data will come in very soon. At 10.2, while Edmonton's unemployment rate was 6.9%. At these rates, I'm not even considering this new data, is the Alberta has had the highest ever unemployment since 1994. Calgary, of course, is also at its record ever. And if it's going to be close to 11%, I'm going to check the data, but I think since the 1930s, we've never had 11% in this city, unemployment. Of course, youth are affected the most. This is the category. Youth as defined by Stats Canada is not the 17 and 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, but this is the range, 15 to 24. That's how Stats Canada defines the youth. Corresponding to what I've said, also the average weekly earnings are dropping continuously in the province. We used to be the highest. Actually, we are still the highest, but continuously dropping. Up till September, the drop was 2.7%. And correspondingly, this figure, but I have to warn you, the EI claim in the province has gone up 68%, okay, from 47,000 to 79,000. Okay, what I have to tell you though, I have to warn you, is that that figure, it's not logical to see such a huge jump. That's, I mean, doubling. That's because the EI laws have changed, and the Calgary used to be that in Alberta you would have had to work 800 minimum hours before you could apply for EI. That was brought down to 550, and now I believe it's going down to 500. That's federal government. So that's why you see this huge jump, because this jump is not statistically, it doesn't make too much sense to me. Now, my other proposal, second proposal, is the carbon tax, which they have implemented, which I am very, very anti right now. Okay, let me tell you why. I cannot fight, you cannot fight the carbon tax, because the climate change program in Canada and nearly rest of the developed world is asking for carbon reduction. I'm not opposed to that. We, the province, as you will see in the conclusion, the GDP figure, in 2015, 16 figures haven't been released, Alberta had the worst GDP negative growth in all of Canada, even worse than Newfoundland and Atlantic provinces, Nova Scotia, who are always in trouble. But we had a worse figure here. I'll show you that when the chart comes in. But the carbon tax, voluntarily, okay, so the federal government is going to put the carbon tax if you don't. It's either one. So that's going to kick in 2018, right? We voluntarily, in the worst economic conditions of this province, are kicking it in 2017 at 20%, and when the federal government wants the 10%, we are at 30%. Okay? The federal government then increases this up to 30. Our maximum is 30. In 2021, we will have to increase it to 40, because the federal law, it has to be the higher of the two every province will have to implement. So my problem is, in the worst scenario, why are we overspeeding this portion? We'll have the carbon tax. If we don't have it, the federal government will impose it anyways, right? I have worked out the implications. I'm not going to discuss this here, but I've worked out the mathematical calculations of what negative revenue comes in and how we can do that, but that's going to go to the government. You are my testing ground. I'm just testing all these thoughts with you before I send it to the government. But I am opposing not the carbon tax per se, but I'm opposing the earlier levy than the federal at a much, this is double your rate, this is 3 times the federal rate. Let me give you the impact of this. What is the impact of this carbon levy on you and me, starting January 1? CTF, which is the Canadian Taxpayers Foundation, who was supposed to be here today, Paige, the Western Canada director, but I don't see her, estimates that excluding grocery property tax, so just on your gas bill and your heating, gas I mean gasoline, and gas bill for home, in this will cost for a 4-people household 600. But this excludes all of this. Alberta government has estimated, a weird estimate, it's really wrong, is saying, including everything, it's going to cost a 4-person household $465 a year. Garbage, in my opinion. The CEF, which is the Canadian Ecofiscal Commission, has estimated this, much, much more reasonable. So if you are in this income bracket, this is your average cost, which you can see is much higher than this. In some cases, 10 times higher than what the Alberta government is predicting. These are all predictions, of course. So it could cost you about $2,000 per year more on your carbon tax levy. Where is it levied? It's levied on many kinds of carbon fuels, but the common ones that you'll see is that your gas price on 1st of January is going to go up 4.49 cents a liter. Your diesel price is going to go up 5.35 cents a liter. And the reason I've included aviation, bunker, and locomotive is because everything is transported, either by plane, rail, or sea. So the impact of that you'll see on everything. Yeah, because the Alberta government in its, the NDP government, sorry, in its election manifesto in 2015, committed to climate change program. The NDP government, which is a good thing, I'm not complaining about that, the NDP government, even federally, the party, federally as well as provincially, is very conscious about emission control. So Alberta government took the initiative to do this early. But let me tell you one thing. The BC government has a carbon levy since 2008. And I haven't put it up here. So they have much more initiative than us. That's not an NDP government. But they have a different, they call it, all the collection is revenue neutral. Revenue neutral means whatever I collect from carbon tax, I reduce some other tax of yours. Alberta government will not follow this from January. It's saying whatever I collect, I will spend on certain categories, and they are estimating 9.6 billion will be collected in 5 years. I have those categories, I don't want to go over detail, but infrastructure, green projects, infrastructure projects, stuff like that, they're going to spend. I oppose that. I am saying make it like the BC. If you spend it on projects, it's your choice. It's the minister's choice, it's the cabinet's choice, it's the parliament, the legislative assembly's choice. If you give it back to us in a tax form, it's our choice where we spend it. And that's what BC does by legislation. But they implemented it early, just to go back to you, is that the NDP is committed to emission control.
The question I have is, so then the NDP government will collect this tax and then invest, or would they reduce their deficit?
No, they won't. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, if you want...
There's a separate account which they will come up with a way to spend it.
They haven't come up with it yet, but what they've announced, and I'll just read it for you very quickly, the amounts, out of the 9.6 billion that they're collecting in 5 years, they're saying, okay, there's no account yet, that I'm going to spend 2.3 billion in rebates. By rebates is this rebate structure that I'll show you at the end. They'll give us back some money, but peanuts. Okay, so 2.3 billion of the 9.6 billion is revenue neutral, which I want all the 9.6 billion to be revenue neutral. So they're saying I'll give you back 2.3 billion. Then they said I'll spend 645 million in what they call the category of renewable energy, green transit, and energy efficient measures to be implemented. That's 645 million. 865 million, they are going, and I'm coming to that also, they are going to spend in 5 years in small business tax reduction, which is coming down from 3% to 2% in January. But there's a whole session on deductions. Raza will be doing it on that. But 865 there, 195 million for coal communities to convert them from coal communities and other areas like this. My only problem with that is A, don't early implement the tax before the federal government. My concern. 2, 9.6 billion or whatever that figure comes out to be, like the rebate you're giving us and the small business, give us all the money back, which BC does, and it works beautifully for them. And let me just tell you, the predicted growth rate next year in Canada, the highest of 2.5, is for BC, not for Alberta anymore. We were negative anyways. But they're predicting positive. I'll come to that slide. So that's, Moni, is my concern with the carbon levy.
Yeah, thank you.
Ted, is that okay? No, I know for you it won't be. You're totally politically minded, but that's fine. I can't.
The problem is, okay, BC ran shy for how long? They finally got a government in there that listened to the people. There's a lot of people you'll never satisfy no matter what you do. We elected these buffoons here 2 years ago, and they have done nothing for us except spend money. That money they're going to collect. We're going to see put into NDP dreams, not into what's needed.
Okay, Ted, if you don't mind, I won't reply to that because, you know, that's a political answer. You have your opinion, and I have political ambitions, so I don't want to say something totally non-acceptably politically. So I'm presenting, whether I agree or not, I'm presenting the situation to you. There are issues with every government, including the present government. But right now, my major concern is the carbon levy tax, which they have imposed, which is fine conceptually, like I said, but it's too early and it's too much.
But Rauf, I have a question. From what I understand, you are a lifetime NDP supporter.
Yes.
So maybe take 1 minute to answer to our friend's question.
Okay, but yes, I am a party ticket holder since my university days in late 70s, and I have also worked with the father of the present premier. But that money makes me more sensitive to certain things wrong being done, because I have, you know, and I declare it, I am an NDP up till the last elections. But if certain things don't change, and actually the gentleman Ted there, who's a political guy, also knows I'm an NDP supporter, and that's why he's bugging me right now. But Moni, political support is fine, but if things are going wrong where I feel it's wrong, I have to point them out, and I am. And I have already, you know, for the last 1 year, I'm communicating directly with the Premier on economic issues. But the reaction I'm getting is that I only get a formal thank you letter from her and CC. And they do implement certain things, but this carbon levy tax, they are not realizing the impact of this in a recessionary economy.
So to summarize before we move on, you're trying to give constructive criticism.
Absolutely,
and that's what you're
constructive. Yeah, constructive.
Thank you.
Yes.
You've missed something here,
Okay.
okay? You've talked about this carbon tax. We've talked about trying to diversify the Alberta economy, okay? The Alberta economy, the Alberta government and past governments have not been friendly on trying to diversify. Agriculture's in trouble, big time, massively. The feedlots are closing their doors. People are losing their jobs. There's no market for the crops to go there. We bring in this carbon tax. Transportation costs are one of the things that slaughter us the most in this province. because the trucking companies gotta make a dollar. Look at, the railroad has to make a dollar. Railroad made me late getting here, and all the cars were empty. So this cost of fuel is gonna go up,
Yeah.
large. Who's gonna pay for that in the end?
I
We
realize.
are, we are. When we go to the grocery store, when we go to purchase something we need to operate our business, or fix our home, fix our vehicle, we're gonna be paying that bill. Everybody forgot about that. Everybody completely missed that boat when it came time.
Yeah, I did mention transportation, and that's why in this chart you'll see I put down aviation fuel, bunker fuel, which is for ships, locomotive diesel, yes. And
Ralph, but long and short of it is that what we get here, most of ours comes by rail. Okay, so you're talking the same, basically the same fuel with a bigger discount than the trucking companies are paying.
So maybe I suggest we move on, because I don't think we'll find an end to this discussion.
no, we won't.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie. But I must admit to you, though, that Ted, who is a political person, is very knowledgeable in the economic affairs of the thing. So I do respect the comments. So you get a rebate, okay, it will be automatically done as long as you file your tax return. And I've given you a table of what your rebates is. So the first year, the rebate is 191 maximum. And I am expecting your cost to be at least average household. I showed you a table which shows a cost of about 5,800, your extra cost. So this rebate to me is meaningless, totally meaningless. And next year it's going to be $200, so that's meaningless. Of course, it's different for couple and everything else, but I'm just giving you an idea why I'm opposed to the tax right now is because the rebate is quite meaningless. This now actually, so my question is, should the 17 levy be delayed? Is the end result of all this. This is, I don't know where the header for this is the GDP of our province, which is the one single most indicator of how you can gauge the economy. So the GDP in 2015 in Alberta fell by, usually the GDP that they look at is GDP by expenditure, but there are many categories of GDP, fell by 3.6% last year, which is the highest fall in all of Canada, province-wise. In 2016, it's projected to be 2.9% drop this year, which will end this year. My projection is it's because because earlier when I showed you the charts, those were all components of GDP I was showing you. So my prediction is that the fall is the GDP fall is going to be greater than 3%, not 2.9, because all indicators are pretty bad shape right now. Future. The future, every economist is predicting that there's going to be 2% or 2.1% growth plus in this province next year, 2017. I'm not. I'm trying to finalize a model which is showing that the growth will not hit the 2% unless certain things are done to the economy. So I'm not really painting a gloomy picture, but what I'm saying is that what you may have heard, or next year is going to be much better, have a great time, party, it may not turn out to be the way that you're told to expect next year. It's gone, everything. So I said we will discuss the forecast in the seminar. So the forecast, I don't have a paper for you. I'm just going to give you an outline of what I'm predicting. TD Bank, RBC, and BMO all predicted between 2.2 to 2.3% growth next year. The government itself, in its budget document, 2016 budget documents, assumes a 1.9% growth next year. I don't think we'll achieve it unless three things happen. One, first thing is my carbon tax issue. That, I think the government, when it estimates it will cost $400, $450 a household cost of 4-person household extra, I think that's totally underestimated. I am assuming, predicting based on the CEF data, who did a survey for all of Canada actually, not just Alberta, that the cost at least is going to be, mostly, for a 4-person household, it's going to be at least $2,500 overall cost for everything, gas. And like Ted keeps on pointing out, it's not just your direct gas and car gas. Everything in this province has a transportation cost. Unless you grow tomatoes in your backyard, the price of that's going to go up too. Okay? He does actually, he lives in a farm, but that's besides the point. Yes, he's right, the transportation cost has not been properly figured in. Second, so I want the levy to be deferred, not zero, because the federal law will kick in 18 anyways, at 10%. We are going to be at 30% with our present law then, when the 10% kicks in. Second, I want that one of the main components of growth in an economy is small businesses. They are the largest employers in this country. Employment is the worst problem. So what I'm proposing is, the government has proposed, and actually I gave this proposal to the government. I don't know whether they followed mine or the Premier followed someone else's, but this was one of my proposals last year to reduce the small business tax in this province from 3 to 2%. She did, implementing it on 1st of January. I had asked them to implement this on 1st of January 2016, but it's come in 17. Now I'm going back, looking at this data. I am asking them for 1 year or 2 years, make the small business tax from 2% to 0%. When you do the tax tables, which Raza will also show you, is presently, based on the present tax laws, a small business, which means income up to 500,000, is taxed at 13.5%. If the 2% goes away temporarily, it will the tax rate will become 11.5%. We need to boost the small businesses. The strange proposal I have, which I've always had problem with proposing to governments, is that I am saying the main employer is the small business, but the GDP, the main investment comes from large businesses, oil and gas companies, pipeline companies, right? They're kind of shying away. So I am proposing to the government that they should be, a large business in Calgary, in Alberta is now, as you will see, taxed at 27%. Small at 13.5%. It's in your tables also. I am proposing a special rebate in the form of what's called an investment tax credit to the large businesses to start investing back in this economy. Because that will create a GDP growth and an employment growth. Finally, my third proposal is the worst of this economic bad scenario impact is on employment. As I've just shown you, we have reached our record unemployments in the province and Calgary particularly. Last reported data, remember, for Calgary is 10.2% with November data in, but not the city-wise data in. I am predicting about 10.7%, which is the highest ever, probably in the history, ever, not last 25, 30 years, but ever in the history since the Great Depression of the city. So my final conclusion there is, it doesn't look that bad, is that if we give an incentive to every business, that for each new person, federal government does that in a way in your payroll taxes. If for every new person you hire, you will get X% back in your corporate business taxes.
Raufji, I have a question. I never bothered to check, so forgive me for not knowing. We just hired 7 people, or at least they're starting very soon. Does the Alberta government, and this is in the brewery, in production, do they have any training or any kind of incentives right now?
Yeah, there is. They initially said they're going to introduce a hiring credit, which I'm saying. And I gave them a proposal for that also, but they haven't implemented it. But when you use the word training, there are a number of programs in the Alberta government where you can get money back or even fully funded in some cases for training. But remember, whenever you were training, they have pre-approved trainers. It will not, in-house training is not allowed. I will separately provide to you a list of outside trainers that they will, in many areas they'll allow, but in-house, no.
Now, our training is they are new to the brewing business, and then our existing staff and our brewmaster trains them, and they become useful, let's say, 2 months from now. But there's no program.
No, there is of course a federal apprenticeship program where you get a credit, but your brewmaster still would not qualify for that even, because it's your brewmaster. So I would like, because 12:15 sharp we'll have lunch. Avneet, can you just ask the people if they have any questions anymore?
So if anyone has questions, you could fill out the question card, or you can just raise your hand.
The jobless data only includes the people on the EI, which is about 10 or 11% you just mentioned. In our sector, traditionally people are hired on a contract basis. You know, they are consultants or contractors, and they are not even on the radar of the government. You know, they also constitute about 10%, I would say, safely. So how to bring that out to the knowledge of the government so that we people like who are contractors and jobless, how can we get into that picture so that they see the gravity of the situation?
Okay, what he's saying is the way data is collected for unemployment is that people who are on payroll and pay the EI, CPP, etc. But in the oil and gas industry, there are a lot of people who are contractual employees whose data is not collected by Stats Canada immediately. Eventually it gets collected. The government knows that. But the point that I'm trying to make is, I'm comparing 2 periods. So in both it's not included. So the comparison itself is important and significant enough without bringing this to the highlight. But I'm pretty sure the government knows this, that the contractual employees are not being reflected properly. And that has not drastically increased problems because many oil and gas industry people were working on contracts.
One of the things you have not brought into this whole equation is about the federal government is reducing 3% of transfer payments on healthcare to the provinces. And as you know, Canada is an aging population, and Notley has again reduced the amount of payments to healthcare. They reduced every hospital's budget, and the waiting lists are growing longer and longer in the healthcare system as we are got an aging population with bad hips and bad knees. All politicians seem to have their heads in the sand as far as healthcare goes. The expenditure on healthcare compared to a percentage of GDP is going up. There is nothing put in the budget, whether it be federal or provincial, to increase this because of the aging population. But on the other hand, they're squeezing healthcare more and more when the need is rising. What do you see is going to happen to this whole aging population and the healthcare system when we say we have to maintain this Canada Health Care Act, which is a one person controlling the whole healthcare system?
Excellent question. The reason I didn't bring in, yes, I'm aware of the federal transfer payments going down, but I didn't bring in anything federal into the seminar yet. As far, you being a practicing doctor, you can see, you were saying that the healthcare expenditure in the province is going down. Actually, in absolute terms, it has gone up 2% up till now to date up to this year in stats terms. But what I do foresee is, personal opinion, is that some of it is being done purposely. This is what you call a conspiracy theory, which I'm great for doing, is because the insurance providers want private healthcare in Canada. And they lobby a lot for things so that you and I generally have to pay more premiums for my health care. Okay? So the government is, both federal and provincial, is falling for this trap. As far as the aging population, yes, all of Canada is facing that. As you know, population is in a pyramid generally, normal population. And what he's talking about in aging populations, on top of the pyramid, the 100-year-old person is the smallest bracket, but it's starting to bulge now like this. And that bulge is becoming significant, which means lesser working people will have to take care of more retired people, which will have a drain on healthcare, as he has pointed out, but it will also have a drain on CPP. So I'll just give you some bad news. It won't come in now. In 2019, in some cases, a new federal law is coming in, Bill C-26, will double all your CPP deduction rates. For small businesses like you pay 9.9%, 4.95 from the employee and 4.95 your. That will, in fact, not in all cases, will double. That's nothing to do with the Alberta government, but there's just some bad news for you. So the doctor is correctly pointing out, how do we deal with this? Answer is, I don't know, except put more money into it somehow. Some of this carbon levy, if they want to give it back to us, maybe they should do. But do remember, doctor, we have one of the few provinces left where there is no health tax. Everyone else, not everyone, most provinces, Ontario, etc., build a percentage based on your income as your health tax. It's still totally free here.
Where did you come up with these figures? I know you had some place of finding them to do with agriculture. It's theoretical rebound?
No, I am going to give you the source of every figure. I knew that would come up from someone. So every data has a source, which I am going to just read it off to you, if I can find agriculture. So the agriculture sector data is as follows. Most of it's Stats Canada. There is something called the CAN-SIM table, which Stats Canada produces. The grain deliveries is from the grain deliveries actually is the first statistical data of the CAN-SIM table of Stats Canada. It's 001-001. Lumber production comes from CAN-SIM table again, 303-0064. Cattle price comes from CAN-SIM table, 002-0043. Wheat price again comes from CAN-SIM table, CAN-SIM. I'll tell you what CAN-SIM means. 002-0043, and that's the agricultural sector. Is that what you were asking, my source? You'll have to challenge Stats Canada Federal Department for that. But I'll help you, I'll guide you, I'll send you the feedback address where you can challenge them.
Well, all I'm looking at is this year's harvest was late. There's still a bunch of it never made the bin. Okay? Feedlots are shutting down. One of the biggest producers that supplied Cargill has shut their doors. Been very quiet, not much on the radar, a little bit on the news. Global grabbed it and then it disappeared. Because the feeder cost was more than they were getting for them when they put them on the truck to go to slaughter. Now they had to put feed in them, accommodation, medical bills, all the rest of it in that time. Cost of equipment. And we drive around here, we take a look at these implement dealers. It's just become a mafia with the two big ones. Fiat owns the mother company on the one. And what's going on with John Deere, I'm still trying to figure out. A lot of our equipment's John Deere. The other day I went to John Deere to buy some bolts, okay? This is a prime example of what's happening. They charged me $6.34 for the nuts to go on the bolts. I needed 28 of them. I'm mad as hell when I leave. I go to Calgary Fasteners the next morning. I got out of Calgary Fasteners, I took them all back to Deere and got a credit back on my account. But I got the same nut, identical nut at Calgary Fasteners for 87 cents.
Yeah, Ted, okay, can I come back to you? But I have no really answer for you because I'm quoting data from either Stats Canada or for oil rigs, there is an association, CDOA, CEO from there. So I have not made up any data.
No, I'm just trying to follow through on where they're finding their information because they certainly haven't gone out and traveled around to see what's happening or talk.
No, they do actually go around and get you fill out questionnaires. I would be hard pressed to challenge Stats Canada. But you're a politician. You can challenge anything.
Okay, you talked about the NDP restoring. How are they going to restore jobs? I'm talking about the childcare industry. I know you touched on carbon tax and the oil and gas, but what do you think, when you're sending a proposal, do you think that when they ran a 10.4 deficit this year, they don't have to pay it back, we have to pay it back? They have given $2,500. They have said that they have proposed for parents towards childcare. Now, when they are offering more than that, and hundreds and thousands of dollars for individuals to open up daycares, and people are losing jobs. I'm seeing it in the daycare, where when I run that there are pink slips given to parents every week. People have registered and they are withdrawing their children. Now, how are they going to, what if an individual is taking those hundreds and thousands of dollars to open a daycare, and by the end of 3 years they say we've gone bankrupt? So the government has lost money there. How are they going to look at that aspect?
It's a tough one. I didn't fully understand the question, but if you are saying bankruptcies, the bankruptcies, which I forgot to give you a figure, just for your interest, in Alberta, the personal bankruptcies have gone up phenomenally, which is relevant to what you are saying, and I'll just give you a figure. It wasn't on the chart. In 2000, consumer bankruptcies of individuals increased from 333 last year to 400 and, for 1 month I'm giving you, to 439, which is a 31% jump in bankruptcies, and I see more of this. So she's saying if they're giving a subsidy or some money to a daycare provider and they go bankrupt, what will they do? I guess they'll do nothing. That's part of operating a business. I don't know how else to answer you.
Giving $2,500 to families.
Or you are asking if the person goes bankrupt? The person won't go bankrupt.
But they're also offering at least $1 million for individuals in the community, in the province, to open.
Yeah, I know that, yes.
So then what happens if the daycares are not running and people, those individuals are taking that money and at the end of 3 years, they say, okay, fine, we've gone bankrupt, where does the money go?
There's nothing we can do about it, that's past. I know what you're saying and I regret it, but the government can't do anything, it has to take a risk. Like I said, there are companies going bankrupt every day in every province. Yes, I see your concern, but when legal system, if the company goes bankrupt, it doesn't need to pay the loan back. Yes, that's true. That's the legal system in this country. I have a question at the back, yeah?
Do you think NDP is doing enough to diversify the business in Alberta?
A little bit of my discussion was on diversification, and I said NDP is doing a lot to diversify, trying, but it won't work for the next 5 years. And I mentioned that because I even showed you that with the depreciating dollar, every sector, exports went down, production went down, retail trade went down, wholesale trade went down. Yes, the government is trying, but this economy, that is a long-term solution, and that's why I said we need some short-term boosts to the economy. But long-term, it will take, in my opinion, 10 years for Alberta's economy to actually diversify. We have no production base. A province which produces oil raw and imports gasoline is a very bad situation. I mean, we have to get it from our neighbors to fill your gas tanks. We don't have enough refineries, so.
Should be more like Donald Trump and be a little more predatory and say, this is ours, we're going to deal with it here.
Donald Trump, good topic, but I won't comment on that at all.
We manufacture zero in this country anymore that isn't controlled by an American mother company.
Yes, I agree. I agree on that.
And it's time that it be Canadian made. When that flag gets stamped on the bottom of it, it's Canadian financing, Canadian resources. We pull every bloody natural resource out of the ground in this country and we export it. The only we don't produce here is rubber.
I totally agree with that. And that was one of the points I was making. Alberta is the worst in this scenario. BC has started. Lazy?
We got lazy. That's what happened. We could count on what the oil industry was going to do. And our previous governments, not just our whatever we got in Edmonton right now, but even previously, they got lazy because they were looking at what they were making. And look at what we're still paying for the cost of fuel at the fuel pump.
Yeah. So vote for me next provincial elections.
Well, are we going to have a new party because it's time? Look at what Saskatchewan.
We're working on it. If we have enough supporters.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what needs to happen, because look at what Saskatchewan and BC are doing. They were always the have-not provinces.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, there's every government, every politician says, you know, this is what we can do to move the economy forward, but realistically in this globalized world, what influence does any government have on the trends of economies where we are reliant on consumers from across not only North America but across the world? Just because we make a few claims of this is what we should do, what real impact on the economy does it have anyways? You're going to have a recession if the US is in a recession. You're going to have a boom if the US is in the boom. You're going to have a boom if China is making steel. You're going to have a recession if China is not making steel. So should politicians be spending more effort in how we spend the money that is raised rather than claiming that we can improve the economy?
Partially I disagree with you. Right now, for example, Alberta is undoubtedly in a recession. You agree that? Recession is defined technically as 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. That's a definition of a recession. Okay? So 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. Alberta has had 6 or 8 by now. US is not in a recession. US is actually has taken off. Canada is not even in a recession. Only we are. So yes, overall, what you're saying, I would agree in a global perspective, but for small fries like us down here, it is very important how our government deals with our local economic problems. Yes, it's a big global village, and it's said that if US sneezes, then the rest of the world has a cold, a cough, cold, and they go to bed. The economy is so large. True, but right now, but that's just a very general kind of a statement, Sarosh. But I do think micro level tuning of the economy is necessary in our province, at least right now. Any more questions?